Before I start the unwrap process again, obviously to do that I'll have to delete the current texture coordinate system that I've already applied to the model. But before I even do that, I'm gonna demonstrate to you how a little bit more about how some of the functions here work. Like some of these tools, which are pretty basic tools that give you a better understanding of how to position your texture maps. So so if I first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this and I'm going to go into the model here. If I just go and hide that, just for demo purposes, I'm going to create a box. I'm going to have this box at 50. Probably not the best size. Let's go for 100. Okay, 100 by 100 by 100. So that's created. Let me just zoom on. What was that? Okay, perspective and zoom in. So that's my box. I'm going to convert this into a polygon. So that's it. I can even position this into the center. Right now it's just in the middle of nowhere, so as a good practice you can do that. You can even go right click on the move tool, move this to the center, and that's my model pretty much in the center. If I actually apply my unwrap UV, you'll see that currently my UVs are there, but they're all applied in that space. So what's happening is this whole space is being utilized by each one of these faces. So if I go around and click on each one of these faces, um, so for instance, that face is that one. Again, if I was to move that around, I'll be able to move that. And if I click on the next one, it's that one. So basically, what's happening here is that each one of these faces is an individual face, and it's separated, and it's been set up default by default that it is utilizing the full texture space, each one of these faces. So if I was to apply my texture, the one that I have for the building, if I go to the materials, since it's already loaded, if I drag that onto the model, you'll see that it's actually applying the full texture to the whole face. In this case, what I'm going to move this, I'm going to close the material editor for now. I can upload. I can for now. What we'll do is we can just move all these different faces out. You see, this one's the top face, and move these about a bit. You'll see that each one it represents each one of these represents the each one one of these represents one of the faces on the box, so that's what it is. So this is the 2D UVs for this face here. We'll just concentrate on the top one for now, and just so that is that one there. You'll see there's some things that are already apparent. You're seeing these blue seams or blue edges that are appearing. These blue edges are pretty much where you can stitch this model up from. So these models are all connected to this face. So if I go to this edge, for instance, go into edge mode and select this edge, this is telling me that this edge can be connected to this. So if I go to the stitch option, you'll see how this has become one. So it's pretty much doing the same thing still, but it's utilizing the full text. This object, if I click onto the faces, these faces are now stitched together. They're functioning as one joint face. So for instance, if I click on this allows me to select not just one face, but select all the faces that are as a one component that are stitched. So if I let that go, I'll be only selecting each individual face. But if I have this, all the faces that are stitched to this one section will be selected. So in this case, it's these two faces here. So I'm gonna turn my texture back on. So if I go um, here, 1 second. Sorry, I don't know what I was doing there. Okay, there we go. So if I apply the texture, it should appear on screen now. So to do that, you usually just go into this list, and for some reason mine had disappeared for a second. So if you apply your texture should appear into this space just here. So if I take and move this around, you can see how this whole area is appearing there. So however whatever is happening here, it's also appearing there. So for instance, if I use the scale option here and scale this down, you can scale this down, and I can rotate this as well if I want to. Again, there's certain options. You don't have to do it the long way around by eyeballing it by using this option here. This option allows you to do it your own way, but if you want to just do it really fast, 90 degrees like I want to, a lot of the times these kind of whenever you're doing unwrapping, you're using a lot of these tools, align horizontally, and this kind of makes it flatten. um, you linear line, flip or rotate 90 degrees from the center point. You'll be using these quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we'll do the same thing. Just Oh God, what happened there? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So we're just gonna rotate that face, and we're gonna. So if I just have a look at it, if I come out of the face mode just to see what's happening on these two faces right now, these two faces have been sewn on. So if I click on this and decided to scale it down, if I hold on to control while I'm doing it, it's gonna keep all the aspect ratio. So if I just let it go and just do it anyhow, see how the size, the aspect ratio changes. So if I don't want that to change, if I hold the control down, it keeps it as I scale down. Now if I go and apply this, move this onto the actual stone, for instance, because we already have a texture in place, we can do that. You're seeing that this box here now is appearing to be the stone texture, so it looks like it's continuing. If I go down here, for instance, again, if I look at these bits here, if I go back into my edge mode, and I want the next one to appear here, so I'll turn this off now and just select the edge. So I already know that this belongs to this one here. So if I hit stitch, see if I hit the stitch, it kind of scales it, it loses its proportions. One way to avoid this is to do all the stitching beforehand before you start scaling things. If I hit some of these options, it automatically connects it, but it doesn't keep the right size in that sense. So if I, for instance, select these faces here, and to get that right, you could obviously select the individual face here, and you can move it down and rescale it the same way, so it kind of fits the same kind of size. Again, go back and find out where the seam is. So the seam's on this side, and I would definitely be flipping this 90 degrees that way. So I use the button there just to flip it around. I can bring that down, use the move option, and use the scale option again. So it's roughly the same size, and this has to be too precise for this demo purpose. I'm doing this very roughly just to show you how you stitch things up. In this case, you can even use this one now, and again, you can use the stitch custom. So 1 second. Ah, I'm selecting the whole of the face. So if you select whole of the face and stitch it, it's gonna stitch basically this side, that side. All the seams are gonna be stitched. So as you can see, this one joins up as well. So when you know the edge that you want to stitch up, you go into edge mode, select the edge and hit stitch, and that'll pretty much just do that one edge for you. So as you can see, this seam that's appearing here, that's actually inside the texture, so we don't need to worry about that. So basically, that's what you're going to be doing for the whole process. When it comes to actually unwrapping parts of the model, you're pretty much going to be using a planar mapping, and I'm going to show you what a planar mapping is and how that works when you actually have a model. See, the cube is already kind of unwrapped into like these faces that are individual, and there are ways to actually automatically unwrap something as well. For instance, if I select all these faces and use some of these options, like for instance, available. Um, See, if I hit relax until flat, that kind of again makes everything equal. So even if I join them up, I can hit that, and that will kind of bring everything back to the right kind of proportions like they are in the model scene. For instance, if this face was bigger, then we would have this here appearing to be big. So some of the other options that are available here. Let me just try to see if I can see it. Oh, if I get out of that and hit on all my faces and hit this one, sorry, 1 second. Oh, there we go. Use some of these options as well. What these options do is fit everything inside your texture space. So that's kind of going back. See how if I click on this individually and then click on this, basically what this is going to do is going to take this square and utilize it to its best proportion. So it's going to scale it up and use the full texture space. But if I click on all the faces, highlight all the faces and click on this, what it's doing is actually using parts of the texture space where it's appropriate to be used. So if I click on that, there's some other options available. So that's what's happening there. Um, so if you double click on that, see how the coordinate systems are, the points are changing. These are basically being flipped around. So depending on how you want it to have it laid out, you can do that as well. The other option here is if I go into select the individual face, I can actually um, again hit the stitch options, and that also allows that to happen. I will look at some of these other options in the next video. So just to cut the video short, I've gone on a bit. I'll show you some of these other options that are available here, just to stitch your model up. I will just have one more video in the demo, and then we'll start the actual unwrap process on our model.